Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on ABC 10 News Now. I'm Melanie Palmer. It's election night here in the Upper Peninsula and across the country. Polls close at 8 p.m. local time across the state. Many of the races, both locally and nationally, are too close to call at this hour. Voter turnout was heavy in most UP areas. Tonight's top story, a man convicted on charges of solicitation of murder and torture was back in court this afternoon for a motions hearing. Thanks, Adam. We do have some breaking news that did just come in. State Representative Pete Talia from downstate Presque Isle died at the age of 61 in a motorcycle accident. This has been confirmed from our sister station WBKB. We'll definitely keep you updated when we receive more details. A Milwaukee man has been freed from prison today after spending more than 25 years in prison for a crime that he did not commit. 48-year-old Daryl Holloway was convicted. Good evening, everyone. I'm Melanie Palmer, sitting in tonight for Sam Ali. Well, Michigan Tech got off to a hot start to their season. Tech started the scoring midway through the first. Cliffs Natural Resources has confirmed with ABC 10 that an employee at the Tilden mine was injured and taken to the hospital Sunday morning. According to Patricia Persico, Director of Global Communications for Cliffs, the accident happened at approximately 10:30. Score from the Tigers game tonight, which was 2-0. White Sox taking it home, which I'm assuming would make you happy, being an Illinois man.
You know, it's nice, but I mean, I don't really care.
Oh, okay.
It's just baseball.
Yeah.
And I'm a news guy. You know, I only do the news. I don't know anything else.
Okay.
Isn't that sad that I kind of just that one-track mind?
No, because you're good at it.
No,
so
no,
that's all that matters.
I'm very narrow-minded. As
the holiday shopping continues for many shoppers into December, there are some gifts that need to be thoughtfully prepared more than others. If you're deciding to give someone the surprise of a puppy, kitten, or any other kind of animal this season, there are some things that you need to keep in mind. Sorry, I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. Thanks for joining us here on ABC 10 News Now. Your ABC 10 News at 6 is coming up next. Have a great night. Victims can be anyone at any given time. A majority of the victims are adult females. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and the best way to become aware is to get informed on how it's impacting your community. The holiday season is by far the busiest season for United States Postal Service workers, and just like Santa's elves, they are working hard to get you your gifts right to your house on time. Well, November is the time for Americans to be hitting the polls, but here in the Upper Peninsula, hunters are hitting in different kinds of polls right here at Big Bonds, the only strip club in the Upper Peninsula. If you happen to be looking for a Sasquatch yourself, they communicate through wood-knocking sounds just like this.
If you don't hear about it on the television or you don't read about it in the newspaper, to the general public, it doesn't happen. But when you're in law enforcement, you hear about it all the time. It is a very real thing. And it is affecting our communities, especially in the Upper Peninsula.
It is something that is not publicly discussed, but negatively impacting communities at an excessive rate across the Upper Peninsula. Victims can be anyone at any given time. A majority of the victims are adult females. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and the best way to become aware is to get informed on how it's impacting your community.
With human trafficking, you have to have three things. You have to have force, fraud, or coercion in order for it to be human trafficking. And it involves the movement of a person over, transportation, recruiting, transferring and harboring a person.
Over 60% of victims were tricked into the trafficking system by someone they know, and 35% of the time that person is a family member. Human traffickers, also known as Johns, typically target young women who have ran away from home.
Almost 100% of women and girls who are being trafficked or who are maybe prostituting themselves are victims of child sexual abuse. A lot of times their girls are running away from home because they're being sexually abused at home or because other abuse or neglect is happening. So that's how they get caught up in it. Pimps and traffickers prey on young girls who are runaways. They go to the places where runaways hang out. Within 24 hours, if a girl runs away, she's approached by a trafficker.
These traffickers typically lure in their victims by flattering them and convincing them of wanting a romantic relationship. Although human trafficking cannot always be physically seen in the UP, it is here. In 2013, a Dickinson County man was charged with human trafficking or forced labor of minors in the area. Jonathan Vivian is now serving time in the Marquette Branch prison for his crimes. Due to the ambiguity of the situation, law enforcement officials need to keep their eyes peeled for any clue that could lead to a potential human trafficking case.
It's a lot more common than people realize. It's very clandestine by nature. You have people that come into town that may be here for a while and you're not aware that they're involved in human trafficking. So it's one of those things that really kind of flies under the radar.
With media outlets such as Snapchat and Facebook being accessible to almost anyone of any age, suspects have easy access to finding victims.
Because you can meet anyone online and any stranger can request to add you as a friend on Facebook, a lot of these young girls who are being abused at home or are looking for an escape from whatever's happening in their lives or looking for attention maybe, will allow these men to be their friends on Facebook and Snapchat. And a lot of, from what I've seen in the girls I've worked with, a really large percentage of them met their traffickers online or on the street when they ran away.
In addition to social media sites, frequently visited websites have also had advertisements for trafficking victims, displaying the women like an object on sale. Human trafficking cases can increase in the UP when the number of outside visitors becomes higher.
Maybe hunting season or different holidays. So those kinds of things do increase. We, from time to time, find things on Backpage, the website, where there'll be somebody coming into town for a period of time, staying at certain motels and offering services.
Tomorrow night, we'll bring you the details on the signs of a human trafficking situation, services that are offered, and the action that needs to be taken in part 2 of the series. Melanie Palmer reporting for ABC 10 and CW5 in Iron Mountain. Hunting season in the UP draws in hundreds of hunters each and every year. There's one UP hotspot that can consistently rely on rifle deer season drawing in the crowd. Well, November is the time for Americans to be hitting the polls. But here in the Upper Peninsula, hunters are hitting in different kinds of polls right here at Big Bonds, the only strip club in the Upper Peninsula.
Any other time of the year it is, we have steady flow, but this time of year it's a huge influx of customers and hunters, obviously, because camps are open and deer season is about to start. So it's a lot of activity, a lot of energy, a lot of happiness, a lot of guys looking to have some good times.
Hunters from all across the Midwest have been making stops at Big Bonds since the doors first opened in 1983. Hunting season is by far the busiest season at the club, bringing in thousands of dollars in additional revenue between the dates of November 15th and November 30th. The hunters aren't the only elated ones during these visits, but the additional income is also useful for the dancers.
Oh, it's probably the best season we have, by far. People come from everywhere to hunt. We get lots of people, lots of groups. Girls are great. We just have a blast.
Big Bonds continues to be the only exotic dance club in the Upper Peninsula because of the zoning permits that the original owner, Bonnie Storty, possessed that were grandfathered down to her niece. It was Bonnie's wish for her niece to continue the entertainment business after her passing.
We are the only name up in the UP, so a lot of people hear about us, and there's always going to be good and bad about whatever you hear, but we'd like to change the people's minds about this one, you know what I'm saying? We're a lot more classier than a lot of clubs that you see or hear about.
Over 20% of all business is accumulated during firearm deer season at Big Bonds. Incorporating social media into advertising for the business has also shown to increase customers and to draw in more hunters.
Before, they were getting pretty good on the Facebook page with likes and sharing and stuff. And then after we started with the advertisements, and especially with hunting season, their likes on the Facebook page really went up.
In regards to preparing the club for the highly sought-out time, a number of steps are taken to ensure the business is ready and maintaining their strict regulations. Over 20 security cameras have been installed in every room of the club. The place is cleaned up, and several feature dancers are brought from around the country every year as well. Having a local business such as Big Bonds drawing in an immense amount of hunters leaves a footprint on the community. Other local businesses around the area also benefit from customers who are making stops before heading or leaving Big Bonds.
Oh, our tips are great. Just even the people, we just get so many different ones that aren't from around here. Because we get lots of people every week that are here weekly, regulars. It's nice to see new faces, new everything, the stories we hear.
With business nearly tripling during hunting season, this makes Big Bonds the place to be. I'm Melanie Palmer reporting for ABC 10 and CW5 in Rock, Michigan. After a strong storm system that swept through Gogebic County, residents were left with fallen trees, downed power lines, and even some stuck in their homes. Governor Rick Snyder flew into the area to meet with local residents and see how they were affected by the storms. Governor Snyder landed in Little Girls Point, an area that was greatly affected by the storm system that swept through last week. In this area, more than 40 residents were left stranded in their homes. After Snyder assessed the damage from a helicopter, he described it as a once-in-a-lifetime storm.
My understanding is this is the kind of flood you'd get every 1,000 kind of years. So it just overwhelmed the culverts and the roads in many respects. And the most important thing is that we didn't have a loss of life here in Michigan, nor homes.
Snyder officially declared the area a disaster zone last week, giving emergency officials access to more resources such as the National Guard.
The National Guard's already on the ground here doing work, helping repair culverts with the county in partnership. The DNR's done a lot of work already, and we appreciate everyone working together, the Michigan State Police. So again, we'll provide resources. We want to be a good partner though. You've got a strong community in this area and we want to work well with them.
While many residents in the area did seem happy and assured to have Snyder in the area, others were still skeptical about the future progress and the long-term repairs that will be made through the help of the state.
All of the repairs that have been done so far are temporary, very little rock, primarily sand. It's a matter of when, not if. All I ask is that given the resources for roads, bridges, and infrastructures, that the state give us some serious consideration because of our isolation.
Snyder does not currently have a timeline of the repairs or an exact budget, but the main focus at this time is to create safe paths for residents and emergency vehicles to come in and out of Little Girls Point. I'm Melanie Palmer for ABC 10 and CW5 in Gogebic County. The chapel still standing, wood trimmings in near moderate condition, and some windows left unbroken. These are just some of the unexpected sights seen in a more than a century-old building. After much anticipation from residents around Marquette County, the Holy Cross Orphanage officially opened its doors today, giving tours out to the public. These tours came in response to the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Grandview Marquette apartments. Through a group collaboration and a lot of faith, organizations throughout the community came together to plan renovations for the orphanage into affordable apartments.
This is such a landmark and it's such a part of the history of the UP, and just to preserve the building and preserve the story that went on here, and then to reuse it for a need that really exists in town.
The process began when the Michigan State Housing Development Authority granted historic credits to the community action of Alger and Marquette. Since then, other organizations such as the Old National Bank, HRS Communities, Insight Capital, and Wolverine Building joined the project.
Everybody knows this building and this because it is such an icon. I've been hearing about this building for 3 years, and so it's finally great that it's coming to fruition.
56 rooms are to be placed inside of the Grandview apartments with the option of a 1, 2, or 3 bedroom unit. 8 of these units will be for recently homeless individuals and families in need. The infamous chapel will be used as a recreation center and for tenants to rent out for special occasions. Members from all over the community came out to show their support for the renovations and to get a sneak peek of the inside.
This is a wonderful thing, the construction that's going to go on and the revitalization of this building, because there's so many people that remember what this building looked like in its heyday, and we're going to have it back to a wonderful architectural landmark.
There is still not an exact date when the apartments will be done, but the estimated time is around sometime next year. I'm Melanie Palmer for ABC 10 and CW5 in Marquette.